Alright, hello everyone. My name is Akshita Vora, and I am here to tell you, or convince you rather, why junk food taxes don't work. So picture this. You're driving down an empty street, it's 11 p.m., and you just got off a late shift from your minimum wage job. You're super hungry, and there's no food at your apartment, and you're not gonna go grocery shopping right now. So what do? You pull up to a drive-through. You pull up to a McDonald's drive-through and order fries and a burger. Shouldn't be more than $6, right? To your surprise, when you pull up, the worker says, "Okay, your food's going to be $15 tonight." What? This is the result of a new fat tax implemented by your government. You pay the $15 and drive away feeling super defeated. Sounds like a nightmare, doesn't it? If McDonald's food starts costing $15, what is actual good healthy food going to cost? And an even scarier thought, if McDonald's food starts costing $15, is it going to be considered fine dining? So, the purpose of my speech is to convince you that fat tax or taxing unhealthy foods does not help in reducing obesity, but it preys on the underprivileged low income families who cannot afford anything but unhealthy foods. The fat tax has already been tried and tested in Denmark, but they had to repeal it after 12 months because, according to Taxing Junk Food to Counter Obesity, they found that Danish shoppers had found ways to circumvent the controversial tax by just purchasing items from across the border from places like Germany or Sweden. So, if that happened in Denmark, what's stopping it from happening here and people in the US going across the border to buy foods that are highly taxed here? I'm gonna The fat tax is unnecessarily oppressive and limits people from low income families. And I'm gonna tell you 3 reasons why. Number one, have you ever heard of areas called food deserts? Food deserts are areas filled with people that don't have access to healthy organic foods and have to rely on food filled with preservatives or what is termed unhealthy foods in order to feed their families. According to an article by the US News, the USDA estimates that about 23.5 million US citizens live in food deserts. This means that 23.5 million US citizens live in areas where they don't have easy access to healthy foods and have to rely on whatever is available, which usually ends up being unhealthy foods. If the fat tax was implemented in these areas, the people living here would be disproportionately affected because they would have to pay higher tax on the only food that is available to them, unlike the rest of us who have grocery shops near us and can afford to buy healthy food. When you have no other food, when you have no other source of food but unhealthy food, where do you go? Why should the people living in these areas have to pay more for the only food they have available? According to an article titled "Obesity in Food Deserts Must Be Solved Through Education," poor neighborhoods had nearly twice as many fast food restaurants and convenience stores as wealthy neighborhoods. The best solution is to establish grocery stores that have government support and funding so that they are able to remain open in these food deserts. This brings me to my second point. Obesity and unhealthy eating habits can be solved through food education. This means that we have to start teaching people in food deserts and areas of poverty what healthy eating means and how they can practice it. Food education also needs to start early through teaching children in school what a healthy, balanced meal looks like. For example, at Perea Preschool in Memphis, Tennessee, a teacher introduced mangoes to a group of 4-year-olds for the first time. Later, she also introduced pumpkins in a fun play activity. These children come from impoverished families where fresh vegetables are considered a luxury. So most of them grow up not knowing how to eat healthy food because they were never exposed to it. According to Vicki Salas Morel, a professor of counseling, educational psychology, and research at the University of Memphis, parents are making tough choices between a $1 head of lettuce and 5 boxes of macaroni and cheese to feed their kids. This dilemma also has serious health consequences on the bodies of developing children. According to Food Insecurity Works Through Depression, Parenting and Infant Feeding to Influence Overweight and Health in Toddlers, some studies have also found that food insecure children are more likely to experience lower reported physical and psychological functioning. The best way to spread food education is to start at the root, schools. A heartbreaking story about two overweight sisters has become very popular on a network called TLC. The show is called "1,000 Pound Sisters" and follows the story of two sisters whose combined weight is over 1,000 pounds. The weight gain started when the girls lost their grandmother and this resulted in their mother having to pick up several jobs just to keep their family afloat. So, as small girls and with no one at home to take care of them, they resorted to eating whatever they could find and whatever was cheap. It's what we ate to survive, and that stuff is not good for you, one of the sisters, Tammy, told the newspaper. Depression and just trying to live all kind of caught up with us. But now that they're grown up, the sisters realize how unhealthy it was. But Amy, one of the other sisters, pointed out a good fact that you go to McDonald's and you can get a cheeseburger for $1, but a salad costs like 5. Now to my third point. Taxes on consumption items do not work. Case in point, the tobacco tax. The price of buying a pack of cigarettes has increased, and they even come with these grotesque pictures of lung cancer and all these other diseases that come with the box in order to discourage you from buying cigarettes. But unfortunately, this is a feeble attempt at stopping people from smoking because, according to a 2012 paper for the NBER by economists Kevin Callison and Robert Kasner, who asked the question, do higher tobacco taxes reduce adult smoking? They found that for adults, the association between cigarette taxes and either smoking participation or smoking intensity is negative, small, and not usually statistically significant. If tobacco tax didn't work, then why would the food tax work? Case in point number 2, the soda tax, where the government tried to tax sugary drinks in an effort to reduce the consumption of these drinks. According to nonlinear effects of soda taxes on consumption and weight outcomes, although the evidence from the literature suggests that current small and often hidden taxes on soda do not have detectable impact on population weight, much less is known about the potential for effects of large noticeable taxes. This may also be the case for food taxes, where it would only work if you increased it tremendously. But again, this brings me to my first point, is that any kind of food tax is unfair for people living in food deserts who don't have access to any other kind of food but unhealthy food. On the other hand, some people believe that this can actually be beneficial. According to pros and cons of fat tax, implementing a fat tax could raise revenue for the government, encourage firms to produce healthier food, and provide an incentive to get rid of unhealthy food. So the proof is in the pudding. Fat taxes add unnecessary stress to low-income families and do not reduce obesity. To summarize my points, number 1, people in food deserts hurt from fat taxes. Number 2, food education is the only way to solve obesity, starting early in schools. And finally, number 3, tobacco taxes and soda taxes do not work, so why would the food tax work? The facts and numbers are all in front of you. Now it is up to you to decide whether fat taxes work or not. I urge you to look into your own lives and think about how it would affect you if you had to pay an obscene amount of food for something that used to cost $5. How would it affect you if you were not well off and had a small budget and had to fit that in order to feed your family? If you had only $10 to spare for food, would you buy a few vegetables or prepackaged meals that would feed your family for a few weeks? Thank you.